In this video, we're going to talk the move abroad process, visas, and how you can get your visa and how who is the most likely to get approved for a visa. But first, hey girl, hey, my name is Tanisha Mercer. I help Black women solo travel and move abroad. If any of that sounds like you, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to comment, like, and share this video and this channel. So let's talk about it, y'all. On my YouTube live yesterday, we began talking about visas. If you want to catch that conversation, the link is in the caption of this video. But let's talk about visas and moving abroad and how that is like the next natural step in the move abroad process. If you are saying, hey, I've got my visa or I want to get my visa, honey, I know you are serious about moving abroad. Let me tell you how, when I initially planned to move here to France, believe it or not, I was going to sidestep the visa process. Now, that was totally not a good idea, right? My thinking at that time was, oh, I'm not going to apply for this visa. Oh, there's some extra fees. I need to get an attorney. I need to do A, B, C, D, E. That's going to cost more money. In my mind, I was thinking I was going to bop around. And let me tell you why that was a failed, flawed plan. And I want to stop you right in your tracks, okay? Unless you are planning a truly nomadic lifestyle, in whatever country you're going to plan to move to, you are most likely going to have to get a visa. Why? Because if you are a U.S. citizen, now I can only tell you what works in terms of if you got that blue passport, okay? But if you got that blue passport in most countries, you can spend up to 89 days there without a visa, okay? So whenever I see folks, you know, talking about moving abroad, and some people, especially on Instagram, they're like, "Oh, I just hopped and moved to France, and I just decided overnight." No, because on that 89th day, you're gonna have to get up out of there. And look, the customs people, they don't play with that. If you overstay your quote unquote welcome, you can face a fine. You could get a warning on your passport, which will follow you, right, for the entire validity of that passport, and probably even longer than that. Like when those, the customs people, when your passport gets processed electronically, that can come up. You do not want to overstay your welcome. You want to know exactly how much time you have in a country, because if you are trying to get a visa, it actually impacts you because it looks like, okay, you already started out breaking the law. So you don't want to have that happen. What I was going to do was move around to the UK, like go back and forth. That was not a good plan because number one, I discovered that I didn't really like the UK like that. It's expensive and it's super expensive and it's cold there. It's cold as I don't know what. So I complained about the weather here in France and Paris. So that just was not going to work. So at the last minute, in like September, October, I had to begin the visa process. I hired an immigration attorney. I eventually ended up getting my visa in December of 2023, and I moved January, I'm sorry, 2022. I moved in January 1 of 2023. I was, my New Year's present to myself, I was on a plane headed to Paris. Okay. So let me tell you, I want everybody, like, I want y'all to learn from my experience. And I literally do not know what it was that I was thinking. Again, unless you have a solid, excuse me, unless you have a solid and solidified plan to move around where you're not spending, 90 days in one country, you may have to get a visa. Now, it also is going to depend on where you're going. For me, initially, and this is why doing your research is going to be so important. So this video is not only about the visa, but also about doing the research, because if you're planning on moving, there are 26 countries in the Schengen zone, right? So what happens is those countries, the time you spend there is cumulative in all of those countries. Now, the UK isn't a part of that zone, but let's just say I said, well, I'm going to spend 3 months, 2 months in France, a month in Italy. You know, that plan is also not going to work. Why? Because Italy is counted toward my time in the Schengen zone or Schengen area. So you really have to do your research and be very specific about where you're moving to. Now, if you said, I'm going to spend, 2 months in France and maybe, 2 months in Cape Town, South Africa, that plan could work. But it really depends on what you're trying to do. But for the most part, if you're looking to stay in the same region in terms of country, you are going to need a visa. A visa is going to be pretty important for you to get. And there is a process. And I think that was the reason why I didn't want to do it at first. I didn't want to be bothered with it. But that was, again, totally a whole mistake. And I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? Because the visa is so important because number one, when you are, even with your blue passport, okay, with your little blue passport or whatever passport you got going on, you are at the mercy of that of that customs official in whatever country you're going to. If they having a bad day, baby, you having a bad day. They can literally tell you cannot come in, right, on a whim because they don't like you, because you answer a question wrong, or the perception that you answer a question wrong. I'm not saying folks will necessarily risk their jobs, but all I'm saying is some people get addicted to power, and you don't want to be on the other side. I don't want to have my whole life built up in another country and then have a customs agent tell me that I can't enter, right? The best way to avoid that is going to be to get your visa in whatever country you are looking at setting up permanent roots. That visa gives you like that stamp to enter the country. Is it as good as a US passport? No, but it is the next second best thing. And also your visa, if having that visa, if you're doing things like, for example, opening you're starting you want to have a mobile phone in the country you're in, most of the times they may ask for a visa. The telecom provider that I have, they asked for my passport and they looked at that visa. If you're looking at doing a rental may ask you for your visa. It all just depends. So there's a whole, in terms of administrative world that opens up for you when you get a visa. And these countries look at it like, okay, this person is actually here to stay long term. Now, it don't matter if you don't stay. If you don't stay, that's your business. But it's one of those things where I would rather have the visa if I know I'm going to be in a place for a minute, right? I would much rather have that visa. So keep that in mind when you are looking at the visa process. Know that visas in every country are going to vary a little bit, but for the most part, there is going to be a financial requirement. Yes, they're going to want to look at your information. They're going to want to make sure that you make a certain amount, a certain income. Usually that's going to range from about 1,500 to about 5,000 USD on the low end, okay? From the low to the high end, depending upon which country you're going to. Here in France, to qualify for a 1-year visa, you are going to have to make technically about, you're going to have to make about 1,400 or so, about 15 to 1,600 USD, right, per month to qualify for that visa. You are going to have to make at or surpass the minimum wage of a French worker. For most people in the US who are traveling, who have disposable income, you probably are making more than that right now, okay? Whether that's through a job, whether that's through some type of investment income, retirement income, or whatever. If you're traveling, you probably have some level of disposable income. So that probably it's not going to be an issue for you. But keep in mind, every country is going to have income requirements. You are going to have to prove you make the money that you say you make. So they're going to want bank statements. They're going to want your 1099 or W-2, your yearly, reporting of income. They're going to want to see usually a work contract letter. And I know for a lot of us in the US, it's like, what is that? Essentially, it is a reference letter, an employment letter that I am employed at X, employer. It doesn't even really have to go to like a salary letter, but they are going to want to see that you are employed on that company letterhead. You're probably going to have to supply that, but you are going to have to prove you make, that you are who you say you are and that you make what you say you make. Now, your income sources can be, again, you're going to have to prove them. If, for example, let's say you are a military veteran and you're getting early disability, you'll have to prove that. If you are retirement getting U.S., getting pension income, you'll have to prove that. If you are, let's just say, living on your investments, if you are, congratulations, I want to be like you. If you are living on your investments monthly dividends, you just have to prove that. Some countries are not going to be as open to 401ks because they look at it as, a harder way to get your money. I don't know why some countries are like that. The advice that I got from my attorney, my French attorney, is that 401ks can be included in your application, your visa application, which mine was, but they don't really look at that because they look at what's liquid. Now, for me, your 401k technically is liquid because all it takes is a phone call or online access and to get that money transferred to you. It may take, some business days to get. But I'm told that for the French government, they would prefer that you have more liquid assets. Other countries like Mexico, they do count your retirement income 401k towards your visa. Now, Mexico has changed some things recently. Mexico used to be the spot. A lot of people were getting residencies there on some very low income. You had to just make more than the minimum wage of a Mexican worker. Now, listen, they didn't change that. Okay, so what we're seeing some Americans who would have qualified before, now they don't qualify. Their official guidelines are you've got to make, I want to say about almost 5,000 a month, or have that like 77,000 in assets. Okay, retirement, investment, 401k assets. I believe they are more likely to count your 401k. So just remember that you're going to have to do your research on what each country is going to require of you. Some countries, like for example, I think Costa Rica has a very generous visa and residency program. Now, sometimes visa/residency are two different things. So you're going to have to, again, this is where it's going to come in doing your research. You may get a visa or you may get like a residency card. Those are two different things. Here in France, I have a visa. I have my 1-year visa, right? I had my initial visa. I'm now on year 2. I will apply for year 3 beginning in August, God willing, right? And I am going toward getting my 5-year residency card. What does that mean? For me, that means 5 years where I won't have to reapply. I can come in and out. Right now, my attorney is advising me that, in terms of if I wanted to move around a lot, it may affect me getting that 5-year residency card. He advised me recently to not be out of France for more than like 30 consecutive days. His advice may be on the more conservative end, but these are the questions you're going to want to know and find out because a visa is definitely different than a residency. Going back to Costa Rica, I believe their residence program, I think it requires you just be in the country for like once a year. So it makes, depending upon where you're going, it makes getting that residency that much easier. I'm hearing countries like Panama and Colombia are relatively easy to get visas/residencies in also. And again, this is going to come back to that research part. Things change every year, okay? These countries will change up on you on a whim. There were some changes in France that happened in March. that I believe they went through the French legislature. But this is the reason why you have got to do your research and you have got to stay on it, because baby, they will change things up on you. Now, for France, the monthly income amounts you have to make, they change. It goes up every year. So they're looking at it like in terms of with inflation. So it goes up a little bit. So what you had to make 2 years ago, you got to make a little bit more money now. And these countries, again, you've got so many countries that are rolling out new visa programs. Okay, they call them schemes, and that word always, kind of bugs me a little bit, but they call them like visa schemes. Whenever you say scheme, I think a scam, but it's just a different way they use the word. But essentially, the laws change every year. And countries like Portugal is another one that has a really good visa program. They've got this that for years they had an investment visa program. And if you had the money, like I want to say like maybe 200K or so, or 300K, and you were willing to invest, you could get a visa. It's like paying for a visa. If you are planning on investing in the country anyway, it totally makes sense. But also, they've got a retirement, like a golden visa program, and that's for retirement income. Again, if you've got some retirement income, if you are, let's just say, a military vet, maybe you retired at 40, maybe you are 30, maybe you are 40 and retired from the military, you would qualify. If you have military pension, military income, disability, now again, check your individual rules. I don't know what those rules are for you. Even perhaps if you're getting some social security disability, it may vary, because I believe what happens with that is that you have a certain window of time that you can be out of the country. But again, you have to ask and do your own research and find out for your particular situation. But I'm telling you, if you're getting guaranteed retirement income, you're getting a pension, you are getting social security, you are getting military disability, military pension, that is like that. Listen, that is your ticket. That is your golden ticket. Because these countries look at it like, okay, this is even better than a job because it's guaranteed. You're getting that money on the first of every month, or whatever date that is, you're getting it. So you are seen as a stable visa investment. For many of these countries, a visa is just a money game. You've got to make a certain amount. You typically have to have health insurance through the country. Either you need to have health insurance before moving, which is what I have. Here in France, I had to pay anywhere from 700 to 1,000 euro to get a yearly health policy, which covers me, right? And then you can qualify for the French health insurance. Okay, so most of these countries have similar arrangements. You got to have some type of insurance to get the visa, and then you can qualify for the country insurance or health insurance once you get there. But insurance will be a part of that visa process. So know that going in, right? But I'm telling you, with many of these countries, again, the visa is a money game. You've got to meet certain requirements. It is what it is, but it gives you a level of flexibility and freedom. I do not suggest, if you're planning on like renting an apartment somewhere long term, you want to get that visa if at all possible. Again, you don't want to get stopped at the border. You don't want to have someone, a customs agent, having a bad day, telling you that denying your entry. Okay. Not when your stuff is there, not when you've got your life is there. So a visa protects you. A visa protects you, gives you that protection, gives you that access to get into that country. It makes you, again, it's not a residency, right? You get a little bit more grace with a residency, but a visa gives you the ability to move in and move out of the country, and you're able to kind of do more things with it. So I highly suggest it and recommend it if you're planning on spending some time in a place, because it makes you legit. As much as I hate to say it, it does make you legit. It makes you, in their government's eyes, makes you a legitimate, quote unquote, resident or temporary stayer in the country you're trying to move to. So I highly recommend, depending upon the country, you consider getting a visa attorney, right? Getting an immigration attorney. And I recommend it because if it's a language barrier, if you don't know the language, I don't know French. There are other countries, you may not know Spanish, you may not know Portuguese. It is just an expense you have to pay. Am I saying you can't apply for your visa on your own? No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying, it's like anything else. Think about your job. Think about if it's your job to process these visa applications. Who am I more than likely going to, hit the approval stamp on? Someone who is a regular, Keisha or Keontae, right? Applying for their application, they may put some stuff wrong, whatever. Or the one application, the visa application, Keisha or Keontae's, the visa application that is prepared by an attorney. Why? Because I know that application is going to be prepared correctly. All the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. If they're an attorney, this is what they do for a living. This is their expertise. Okay. So I feel like I can skim over it. I'm not going to have to examine it. May have I've seen their applications before. I know what type of work they do. They're thorough. I'm going to hit the approve on that one. And the one from Keisha or Keontae, I may be looking at that one a little bit harder. So it makes sense to me that you look at getting a qualified, competent, qualified and competent are key. Getting references are key, but getting a qualified and competent immigration attorney to kind of help you through the process. Just add that to the budget. Unless your budget is super, super, super tight, especially that first year especially, I totally recommend it. Now going forward, it's different, but that first year, this has to be a part of your budget process. If you cannot afford a visa attorney, an immigration attorney to prepare your visa, and I'm saying you're going with a reasonably priced one, right? Not maybe the most expensive and not the cheapest either, maybe somewhere right in the middle. That visa attorney is probably going to cost you a couple $1,000s, right? USD. If this is a fee that is unaffordable to you, I would say you may want to rethink if this is a time where you want to move abroad because financially it may not be working out in your favor. It is the best for me. Getting the visa is the best money and in terms of hiring my immigration attorney to get my visa. It was the best money that I ever spent, honestly, because it made everything easier for me. I got my visa in record time. My particular attorney charged half up front and half upon visa completion. If I have any questions, I can ask my attorney. I paid for it, right? I can ask my attorney. I don't have to go in these Facebook groups, which give a whole lot of incorrect information. I don't have to go on social media. These countries do not make it easy to know the visa process. I think they purposely make it harder. There isn't, like with the exception of some European countries. I was looking at Estonia and their e-visa program. They've got an electronic visa program. They are on the cutting edge of making things so easy. That is one country where I feel like everything is laid out. Now, I'm not planning on moving to Estonia, okay? But they have it to where it is there in terms of being an Eastern European country. They are on the cutting edge of technology and user experience, and they make everything, it's very easy. It's planned out. You can see what you need. Most countries, it is not like that. Most countries, it is confusing on purpose. It is confusing by design. Okay. So I think these countries purposely make it harder for you to know what the requirements are. They make it confusing almost on purpose. Again, you have these government websites, but they don't make it very easy for you to understand. And this is part of the reason why, there are immigration consultants, there are immigration attorneys and experts and all that stuff that you can pay for. I recommend, when I moved to France, I did get a book by an immigration consultant, which was very helpful. And I also ended up hiring an immigration attorney. So I could have used the immigration expert to apply, but I wanted to go with an attorney. So for me, it was, again, a choice of money well spent. But just remember, whether it's France, Portugal, or most other countries, there is often not a step-by-step 1, 2, 3 process. Information is everywhere, right? it can be very, very confusing for you to find out how to qualify for a visa, what you need. There's some information in some places, other information not in other places. Again, you've got the language barrier. It is the reason why I highly recommend an attorney who can speak English, who can talk to you, and you can understand what you are applying for. Okay, getting that immigration attorney for me was a total game changer and was key. I I'm going to use an attorney again this year. Um, his fee last year was $900 to renew my visa, and it is a fee that I happily pay. Okay, because I'm not having the same issues and the same problems that I'm hearing of some people having. My application was processed efficiently and quickly, even with the renewal. The one challenge I did have was making an appointment with the prefecture to pick up my visa. Now that process was interesting because I could not make an appointment online. The system would not let me make the appointment. I didn't see a date. I was having the hardest time. What did I do? I called my attorney. Hey, I'm having a problem. And again, I paid this man, and so he advised me, hey, well, send him an email. Now you would think that I would know that, but no, I didn't know. I just had gone on this site for like a week, different times, different days, and it was not working. I could not make an appointment at all. He advised me to send an email. I sent that email, and they sent me a date back, a date and a time back, and I went and picked up my visa. It was that simple for me. There are some people, depending upon which prefecture, a prefecture is basically like a government office, okay? It is where you do your official business, depending upon which city in Paris, I'm sorry, which city in France that you are located in. For me, I went to a prefecture in the fourth arrondissement, okay, which is like a central Paris business district kind of a thing. And I'm hearing some people have to have their attorneys, consult with them or go with them, or they're holding up the application. Again, I don't have those problems. I haven't had those problems. My application and those of people who I've recommended to this particular attorney, they have smooth sailing totally. Now, you will have to, in your visa, I know in France, every country is going to be different. I had to validate my visa. So once I got the visa, which I physically got, you have to pay for, in order to get it, you've got to, well, the first year after I got the visa, I had to get it validated. I had to pay like €200 to get it validated. And validation is important. It is another government fee. So just add that in the budget. But it's important because if you get the visa, don't get it validated, it is not valid. You will be basically, you need to go, you need to leave. You will be expected to leave within 89 days. Okay. So don't forget that process. It is an important final step. You need to validate your visa. Whatever fee they charge, you need to validate it, at least here in France. So for my second year, I was able to, upon picking up the visa, that's when I had to pay for that validation. So just remember that, you may have some additional steps, but I totally highly recommend you get that visa. Do your research. Number one, do your research. Number two, have your financial information ready. Have your paycheck stubs, W-2s, all of your financial information. Be able to prove you are who you say you are. Okay, work contract, paycheck stubs, all that good stuff. Have that ready. Hire an immigration attorney if wherever possible, if you can. I highly recommend it. Be patient. The visa process, it is a sprint, not a marathon. You want to make sure that everything is correct. Again, going back to research, do your research on the country that you want to move to. There are countries that are rolling out new visa programs all the time. There are even cities that are rolling out new visa programs. Italy has a new visa program designed to attract digital nomads. These countries are not stupid. They know that to get a new workforce, to get in terms of not new workforce, but to get new talent, to get new people in their countries, they've got to have something to attract them. And so for many of them, it's going to be a visa program or digital nomad visa program. Again, Italy has one. France does not officially have a visa program. Their a digital nomad visa program, I'm sorry. Officially, you are not allowed to work on a on France's no work visa unless you've got a business type visa. Okay, so there are a couple of different categories. You're going to need to do your research of any country you move to because they're going to be different categories of visas that you can potentially get. Again, you can get that retirement visa, which is great, highly recommended if you can prove it. If you're older and you can do it, get it. Okay, if you're a younger employee and you can qualify for a digital nomad visa, if the country you are interested in moving in offers it, get it, right? I believe Costa Rica offers a digital nomad visa. You may want to look at, I want to say Colombia may as well, but again, do your research. Bodrum in Turkey recently rolled out a visa program for a digital nomad visa. Now it's a city in Turkey, and they've got this visa program. You need to be a certain age range, you need to have a degree, and you need to make a certain amount of money. I think it's about 3,500 USD per month. So these countries are they're wisening up. They are realizing that talent and access is going to be key. You've got areas like Portugal, Madeiras. Portugal is like a tech hub, and they're severe, definitely targeting tech employees and tech talent worldwide. You've also got South Africa. South Africa has a new, well, from what I'm hearing, a new visa program. Check it out, do your research, get back with me and let me know how your research is going on your visa and where you are in your visa process. Stay tuned to this channel. If you are not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget, the best way you can help me is to share this video and share this channel with other Black women you know who are wanting to move abroad. Send them this channel. Send them this video. I've got resources in the caption. Check it out. You'll also find a link of how you can book me for a consulting call. The link will be in the caption, and also a link on how you can support this channel. If this information is helpful to you, do like some of the people who attended my live the other day. They were nice enough and sent me a financial contribution on buyacoffee.com. I think the link is going to be in the caption. And little things like that help me continue to spread the message to other Black women to move abroad, to travel. This information is helpful. If you found this information helpful to you, send a little donation my way, okay? Link is going to be in the caption. Don't forget, join me on Sundays at 12 noon on my YouTube channel. We talk about moving abroad. This week's conversation will be about visas. So, and getting your visa and qualifying for your visa. We'll go more in depth in the conversation about the visa process on YouTube, Sunday, 12 noon Eastern time on YouTube. I will talk to you then. Bye. Talk to you later.